So I'm going to try and run through this fairly quickly because every time I practice this it was like 30 minutes and it's kind of late. So we'll try and go through this fairly quickly. So we'll go with a quick introduction. If you don't know who I am, my YouTube channel is Cyotheking. It has 11,000 subscribers, 8,000 of which came in the last year. I really did absolutely nothing with video until the last year. In the last year I've learned a lot about videography. I started with photography. I started out with an iPhone. I just thought it was fun to take pictures. I eventually upgraded to a DSLR that could do video. I've been doing that for like 2-ish years. I really didn't start trying until last year though. And I'm currently interning at the EFCA, which is the Evangelical Free Church of America. I work in an event department. I make promo videos. I've been doing that for 8 months, and I'll be doing that for the next probably year and a half. And that's kind of the reason I've gotten so much better at this, is all the work that I do there. So moving on, we're going to talk about the thing that everyone wants to know about, is what camera to buy. And there's really 3 different types of cameras. There's the DSLR, which is this. This is the best one on the list. You have the camcorder, which I'm sure most of you have or your parents have. And then the cell phone, which I'm sure every single person in this room owns. So we're going to go over the pros and cons of all of them. The pros of the DSLR are that they are good in low light. Out of all these cameras, the DSLR will win in low light every single time. You have manual control over everything, which is not very important when you're starting out, but when you start getting more serious and you want to take it to the next level, having manual control over everything is really important. That includes like shutter speed, white balance, ISO, frame rate, all that different type of stuff. The larger sensor on a DSLR gives you that blurry background, so in movies that like cinematic blurry look, you get that with the DSLR where the thing in focus is very sharp and then everything behind it is blurry. DSLRs will give you that. They have very good HD video. Out of all of these, they're going to give you the cleanest looking video. And the last thing is you can change lenses. You have never-ending amounts of lenses. You could get a fisheye lens, you could get a telephoto lens, you could get lenses that let in more light, you get lenses that blur the background more. You basically have never-ending options. But the cons are that these things are not cheap. To get started, it's going to cost you like $400 to get one of these, and after that, like getting lenses, those get really expensive really fast. Your first lens after the kit lens is probably going to cost you like $200, and then after that it's going to be upwards of $400 or more. So keep that in mind. These things aren't cheap. It's going to be a very big investment, but that's not to say you need to upgrade right away. You can get by with a very basic kit setup for a long time. That's what I did for quite a while. They're big and heavy. As you can see, this thing is really large. It's significantly larger than a camcorder or a phone. The autofocus is absolutely awful. If you're used to a camcorder where it can keep up with your movement, DSLRs aren't going to be able to do that. They're absolutely awful at it, and you're going to be living in manual focus, which really isn't that bad, but it does take time to get used to. They have a 20-minute timer or less. I think Canon's might be a little less. Nikon is 20 minutes. So this gets really annoying. Like the seminars, I've been having to reset my camera every 20 minutes, and that can get kind of old. So if that's a problem for you, you might want to look into a camcorder. The last thing is DSLRs have a huge learning curve. You're going to be on Google, YouTube, and reading the manual for months. You're going to be never-ending learning on these things. I'm still learning about these, and I've been doing this for a couple years now. So be prepared to do a lot of learning. The pros of the camcorder are they're cheap. You can get started with one for $100. Those are probably going to get you a decent one. $300 is going to be on the more expensive end, but that'll be a higher end camcorder. But really you can get started with a cheaper one. The light and portable, like I said, you can just pick this up, strap it to your hand, and it's not going to wear you down at all. The autofocus is very fast. These will keep up. It's really going to depend on the model you have, but for the most part they are very good and they will keep up. You have basically unlimited recording time. As long as your battery doesn't die or the card doesn't fill, you should be able to record never-ending amounts of time. For cubing videos, that's not really that important, but if you're doing this for multi-purpose, you might want to use a camcorder, and they're easy to learn. You can basically take it out of the box and just start using it. They basically just shoot in auto modes. So if you're looking for something really easy, a camcorder will do it. The cons are that they aren't good in low light. You're going to want to give these things lots of light. you try to do anything low light at all and it's going to start looking really bad. You have barely any manual controls. You might have like a couple things, but later on down the road you will outgrow that very quickly. You can't change lenses. When you get them, you're basically stuck with what you have in the box, and the video just doesn't look as nice as a DSLR. It just, you don't get that blurry background or anything like that, and for some people, you might really want that. For cell phones, I'm not going to go over the cons because it's really obvious. Cell phones, they're super portable. You probably already own one, and any phone in 2015 or 2013 to 2015 is going to be good enough for YouTube. I don't care what anyone tells you. The next segment will kind of explain why a phone can get by on YouTube, but most of them, you have cell phones that can do 4K video, and 1080p just fine. So don't ever let someone tell you your phone is a piece of garbage unless it is like from 2010, then it probably won't be very good. You can get apps that let you do different things, that'll let you control your white balance, your shutter speed and ISO. So look into different apps. I wouldn't recommend using the stock camera app. It's not very good, and you can find ones that will do a better job, so make sure to look into different apps. But here's the most important part of improving your videos. That is lighting. This is the biggest mistake that I see people make when making YouTube videos, and this is probably the easiest thing you could do to fix your videos without having to get a super expensive camera. So I think, so right here we have a video clip. It's probably going to be a little hard to tell on this screen. It really is. But this was shot with a lighting setup, and it looks pretty good. If you see it on the screen, it would look better. This right here was shot without a lighting setup, and it's a lot darker. It's really hard to see on the screen, but it's also a lot grainier than the last one. That's kind of a bad demo, but if you look at it on an actual screen, you can see a huge difference. And the thing with this is the one that was shot with a lighting setup was shot with my iPhone, and the one that was shot without the lighting setup was shot with my DSLR. And the reason I did that is just to point out that a phone with a really good lighting setup is going to be better than a DSLR without a lighting setup. Most people just, when they make a video, they just go in their room, they turn on the overhead light, and then point the camera and call it good. And the problem with that is most people don't have very sufficient lighting, which means your camera has to work a lot harder to get the proper exposure. And what that causes is that grain that everyone doesn't like. It makes your videos look really bad. So give your cameras lots and lots of light. Like in this case, the iPhone definitely looked better than my DSLR when it had a lighting setup. If I give my DSLR the lighting setup, it's going to beat it 10 out of 10 times, no problem. But just keep in mind, lighting is like the most important thing to improving your videos and can oftentimes save you a lot of money. But the first thing is just invest in 2 lamps. Go to IKEA, Walmart, Target, buy 2 lamps that are the exact same and just set them up. If we go to the next slide here, this is what I use at my house. It is honestly a pretty bad setup, but it's passable. I just have a lamp on the right and on the left, and then I set the cube on the desk, and then put my camera in the middle. You can get much better lighting setup than this. Mine, like I said, is pretty terrible, but it's good enough. As long as you're giving your camera lots of light, it's better than no light at all. But moving on here. Make sure your light is even. This is you'd think this is kind of common sense, but I see people make this mistake a lot. They'll set like one lamp right here, and the cube is right here, and then they'll put the other lamp like way over here. And there's just this huge shadow on this side of the cube, and it looks really bad. So just make sure to set them close together. If this is your cube, put one lamp here, put one lamp here, and it should be fairly evenly lit. So just keep that in mind. Get a white balance card. I totally forgot to grab this out of my backpack. But basically, it's just a gray card. It's just a circular item. And all it does is you set it down where you're going to be filming, point your camera at it. It's going to depend on what camera you have. You're going to have to read your manual to find out if it can even do manual white balance. But you point it at the area you're going to be filming and tell your camera, hey, this is what I want the white balance to be based off of. And it'll set the colors appropriately based on the light you give it. Auto white balance is all right, but in a lot of situations it's not very good. Like in this room right here, my camera didn't look that great with auto white balance, so I pulled out my gray card or white balance card and just set it down and set the white balance. And it takes like 8 seconds, and the thing is these things cost like $8, so they're super cheap and they will make your colors in your video look a lot better. So just do a little bit of research on white balance cards. You'll probably be able to figure them out in like 5 minutes. Next thing is get LED bulbs or fluorescent light bulbs. These are pretty common light bulbs for making videos. Like I said, you really only need 2, but I would avoid incandescent light bulbs, which are the light bulbs that are likely in your living room at home. They are very like warm and yellow, and they don't look very good, and they'll cast a weird color on your cube that you don't really want. So I would avoid those, stick to LED bulbs or fluorescent bulbs. And now we're going to go into editing software, and this is another really important thing, because a lot of people make mistakes here. So the first thing is that you don't need the best editing software. I see it in a lot of cubing groups. Someone will post, hey, I want to get into YouTube, what editing software should I use? And someone will comment something like, oh, you should use iMovie because it's free, it comes with your Mac or whatever. And someone who doesn't know anything about video editing will come on there and say, iMovie is terrible software, it's free, it can't possibly be good, probably because they had some bad experience using it for a class project or something. But the thing is, 90% of cubing videos are literally just screen or text on a screen and some basic cuts. Like if you look at the most popular type of videos, unboxings are no more than them like cutting out the package and maybe putting some text on the screen with who the sponsor is. iMovie can completely handle that. Speed solves are literally just filming your solve and uploading it to YouTube. No one really edits those. Tutorials are just going to be transitions in between your algs and text on the screen with the alg you have. And iMovie can handle that just fine. There's probably a couple other common videos, but the point is, almost any video you can think of can be made in iMovie just fine, and don't listen to anyone who tells you, oh, it's free, it can't be any good. It doesn't do you any good to have $500 software if you don't know the bare basics of editing, and a lot of people get really confused and just think, having good software makes me a good editor. That is completely not the case, and it's a lot better to start with something basic. An example of people who could get by with only iMovie are these people. JR Cuber has 44,000 subscribers, and almost every one of his videos could be made in iMovie just fine. He never does anything, super fancy. He might put some text on the screen and do a voiceover and some basic cuts. iMovie will do that all day long, and he has 44,000 subscribers. One more thing to keep in mind is all these people shoot with a camcorder, except Crazy Bad Cuber, he just upgraded to a point and shoot. But all these people use a camcorder, so if you think you need a camera like mine, these people are all proof that you don't. Just Keep Cubing has 10,000 subscribers, and she actually does use iMovie. So there's another one, Cubologist. He could make all his videos in iMovie. Just recently he started doing more like motion graphics and stuff, which you wouldn't be able to do in iMovie. But before, just now, all his videos could have been made in iMovie. He has 7,000 subscribers. And Crazy Bad Cuber, I'm sure every single one of you in this room knows who he is, has over 100,000 subscribers. And all his videos are basically pointing a camera at a desk and talking about a puzzle. And there's nothing wrong with that. But these are all proof that you don't need good editing software to get a ton of subscribers. Really, your editing software has nothing to do with that. Adding some fancy text and some motion tracking can get distracting if you don't know what you're doing. If you just do it because it looks cool, it's gonna annoy people. This is really important. Make your edits unboxing as an example. A lot of people, they'll set the package down on the table and then they'll say, hey guys, today I'm gonna do an unboxing of so-and-so cube. I got this from thecubicle.us. Thanks to them for sending it to me, blah, blah, blah. But you don't need to say all that. You can easily put that in the description because you don't even need to say what cube you're unboxing. People know what cube it is by reading the title. That's why they're watching the video. Then you can put in the description or text on the screen, I got these from thecubicle.us. You just saved like 20 seconds by not putting that in your video. You don't even need to put the package in there because I don't know anyone who actually enjoys watching someone open a package. Like I've never met someone who's like, the best part of an unboxing is just when they slice that bag open. Because most people sit there and they're like, I can't open the bag. It's like, it adds like a whole minute to the video that doesn't need to be in there. It blows my mind. And if you're super insistent on having you cutting the package in there, if you wanted to make that more concise, you could throw like some music in there, and on every beat, so like let's say the first shot is the cube right here, you could have, on that beat, you could cut to a shot of you cutting the package, and then on the next beat you cut again, and the cube is there, if you're super insistent on having the package in there for whatever reason. But my advice is not to do that. Just always be thinking of how you can cut time out of your videos, because people these days have such a short attention span. Honestly, like if your video is over 3 minutes, people are going to struggle to continue watching it unless it's super interesting. So in unboxing, make those as concise as possible, but always be on the lookout about how you can make your edits more concise. This is really, really important these days. Here's some alternative software. I talked about iMovie a lot. I know not all of you have Macs. You can use Windows Movie Maker. I've heard a lot of bad things about this, but I haven't used it since I was like 12. So it could be better. A lot of people who tell me this are people who don't really edit, and those are the same type of people who tell me iMovie is bad. So I know they're wrong. But if Windows Movie Maker is actually as bad as people say, check out Lightworks. It's free, and they claim that it's like a professional grade type editor. I haven't used it because I use Premiere Pro, so there's no reason for me to use it. But check it out. It sounds like it's pretty decent, and it's free. And if you're looking to try something that's more advanced, you can use that. And if you want to make thumbnails for your videos, this can be pretty helpful. Thumbnails, I guess this sounds bad, but it gives the illusion that your video is more high quality if your thumbnail is really good. Like, if you have a thumbnail that's just a shot of you holding a cube versus a thumbnail that has like this graphic of like a cube highlighted and like text on it or whatever, people are more likely to click on the thumbnail that looks nicer. It's really silly, but it's completely true. And I used to do that when I was younger. You know, I'd be like, well, that one has a nicer graphic. Clearly, that one's more high quality. But if you're gonna have a high quality thumbnail, I suggest your content should back that up. Otherwise, people will leave right away. Next up is speaking. This is also incredibly important and ties into editing a lot. Have a rough outline of what you're gonna say. This is super easy. Let's say you're gonna do an interview and you just wanna do the old style review where you sit down, hold the cube in your hand, and review it. What I used to do is I didn't have an outline. I'd just sit at my desk and I'd say, oh, the corner cutting is 45 degrees, and now I'm gonna talk about, and I'd sit there and pause. And that's wasting everyone's time, and no one wants to hear you go, all the time. So just have an outline that says, like, I'm gonna cover popping, I'm gonna cover the turning, I'm gonna cover the stickers, the mechanism, you know, whatever. Just have a rough outline of what you're gonna say, so that way you're not pausing all the time. And if you do have those long pauses, take it into your editing software and just cut that part out. Let's say you had a 30-second pause and couldn't think of what to say, just edit it out, just chop, cut it out. And you just saved a bunch of time. But always have an outline of what you're gonna say. It allows you to speak more fluently, and that's really important. You know, if you're sitting there going, and you don't sound confident, it makes people not really wanna watch your videos, at least in my experience. And also speak clearly. I see a lot of people make videos when like their whole house is trying to go to sleep, and they start going, so hey guys, I'm in my bedroom and my brother's sleeping right over there, so I have to speak really quiet for this video. Don't do that. That's, especially when you're trying to get started on YouTube, if you keep mixing up your quality, like you have good quality and then you have a video like that, people are gonna go, you know, is this guy actually have good quality? Like, was that last one a lucky video? Just make a video when you can actually speak and let your family go to bed. I see a lot of people do this. Just always try and speak very clearly and confidently. Don't sit there and whisper, because it will irritate people a lot. This is, I guess I kind of covered this already, but cut out the ums and the uhs, whether that's actually cutting them out of your vocabulary or cutting them out in post. I do this all the time, and I'm terrible about it, and I'm trying to get better about it. Like, if you've ever watched one of my rant videos, I never script those just because I like speaking off the top of my head for those, but I'll sit there and I'll go, like a bunch. So you can either cut that out in your editing software, just, you know, it's probably like one frame, you just cut it out, and then call it good. But if you can actually stop saying them, it's a lot better. So if you want to like completely script your videos, you can do that too. That's what I do for my reviews. Be personable and don't be boring. This is the reason, at least that I'm convinced, why JR Cuber and Crazy Bad Cuber are so big. They don't make the highest quality videos. They aren't the most world-class cubers. They're just interesting person, and they know how to speak to people. You know, they're very upbeat people that just know how to talk to a camera. You know, who would you rather watch? Would you rather watch someone who's sitting there going, Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about the Ortega method that gets me sub 5 averages, and I'm going to teach it to you today. Or someone who speaks more upbeat, like, hey guys, so I'm going to teach you the Ortega method today. I've used this method to get sub 5 averages in competition. Something like that. That's not a super great example, but you get the idea. You don't want to speak super flat and boring because people, they look at that and they're like, this guy just sounds so boring. Why would I want to watch this? And JR Cuber and Crazy Bad Cuber do that a lot. Like if you watch my old videos, I seriously sit there and speak terribly. Like I speak like I'm scared of the camera or something like that. So if you ever want to see bad examples, go watch my videos from like 2013 and learn what not to do. So try and be personal. And you don't have to be crazy. You don't have to sit there and like scream at your camera and like act crazy or like go break cubes or something. Just be interesting. And here's just 2 things to stop doing. Every time I see these, I cringe really hard, and they could easily be stopped. So the first thing is, stop using your initials plus Cuber as a username. There's like a million of these. If I go to the next slide, I made this list like 4 months ago, and there's even more than there is now. But if you look at these, like RA Cuber, TS Cuber, LG Cuber, LA Cuber, IB Cubing, SA Cuber, RE Cuber, like, and it goes on and on. LG Cuber and LA Cuber are literally the same person in my mind. Unless their content is absolutely amazing, I'm gonna mix them up. Like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot when you have usernames that are this similar because people can't really remember you by anything. They just have one letter different to remember and it sounds like everyone else. I know a lot of people do this and I'm not saying you're like dumb for doing it, but I would recommend, try something different. You would be better off using your real name or something like Super Potato Man 3000. Like that's more memorable than like LG Cuber, at least in my opinion. And really the whole reason this started was because of JR Cuber. He made his username JR Cuber and then everyone thought it was cool and now we have this long list of names. So the next thing is, if you're gonna have an intro, and really, I don't even think most people need these, don't let them go over 5 seconds ever. A lot of you are gonna know about this type of intro where it has a video clip of them, unboxing a cube and it says unboxings. And then the next one is a video of them doing a tutorial and it says tutorials. And then the next one is, giveaways or reviews or whatever. And it's like 15 seconds long. And the whole idea that they're trying to tell you is, this is the type of content that's on my channel. I understand why people think that's good, but the thing is they can go to your channel and just look at the overview of the list. Like, they can look at the first page and go, that's a speed solve, that's a review, that's a tutorial, and figure out what you make. You don't need to make people watch a 15-second intro over and over and over. At some point, people are gonna start skipping it. Like, I would honestly bet you people skip my intro, and it's 4 seconds long. But always just make them short and concise. Like mine, it just says my username, and then a few like quick words on the bottom, and then fades out. So if you're super insistent on having an intro and you don't know how to do like motion graphics, just have like a black background, put your username in there, and then use like iMovie to fade your text in and out with some music. But really, I wouldn't recommend using an intro until you get bigger-ish on YouTube. That's just my opinion. I do it as like a brand type thing. Now that I've actually like really wanted to get good at YouTube, when new people come, they see like my brand basically. Let's see, what else? Okay, so now we're coming to the end here. These are just some channels to check out. Matt's Macintosh he's a tech YouTuber, but he has a lot of videos on using iMovie. If you're ever curious about like anything in iMovie, he's probably got a video on it. Frono's photo, he also has stuff on like shooting with an iPhone and DSLRs. So you can just learn a lot from watching his videos. That's another thing. Just watch people's videos and you'll learn how to speak, and you'll kind of just naturally get better at it. Frono's photo, I learned my photography from him, and a lot of his stuff can be translated into video. Not quite as much, but you can get a general idea from him. Just keep in mind, more of his recent stuff is a little explicit in terms of language, so if you would like to avoid that, probably avoid watching him. But his earlier stuff is really helpful, and I learned a lot from him. And then TLD Today is a tech YouTuber. He has a couple videos on shooting better with a DSLR that you can check out, and he's also just a very cinematic shooter. You can learn a lot from watching his videos. Honestly, just go find people on YouTube, watch their videos, and just like look how people edit, learn how they make them concise and what makes a good shot, There's just a lot to learn about that. And I think we should be done. This is the last thing I got, is the group picture. I'm sure a lot of you heard about. We were gonna try and do that on the beach, and I decided there is literally no way I can organize 500 people on a beach, because no one's gonna listen to me. So tomorrow, before or after 3x3 finals, we're gonna do it right in this room. So everyone will already be in the room. I'll just stand up on the stage before they do, and I'll just do like a panorama, and we will call the group picture good, and now everyone gets to be in it. So we can do a Q&A real quick. We'll probably just take a couple pictures because it's probably pretty late. Yeah, it's 11. I apologize. But if you have questions, go ahead. So he asked, what's my outlook on using a GoPro as your camera? They're a decent camera, but I think the biggest problem with them is you're restricted to one focal length. Like, you're always shooting at that wide angle range, and when you're trying to do certain videos, that could get kind of annoying, and all your videos will kind of start to look the same when they're all shot at a wide angle. So if you have one, you can totally use it as your camera, and you could probably get by with it for a while, but I would recommend, you know, maybe trying a camcorder point and shoot after a while, just because it could kind of get old, you know? Yes? Okay. So he asked, can you use a piece of paper as a white balance card, and what's the best background for your videos? Yes, you can use paper, but if you're going to use paper, I would stack a couple of them just because you can kind of see through them. But I would just take like 4 pieces of paper, and it totally works. It's not quite as good as a regular like white balance card, but you can totally do it. And as for background, if you just have a desk that doesn't look super ugly, you can get by. Like, these tables would probably work. Like, my desk is kind of bland and boring, but a desk totally works. Yes?
Do you think that you should use an end card?
End card?
An end card that you put
Oh. So kind of like an outro?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people use these, and I don't really have an opinion on them. I don't think that they're bad, but I feel like a lot of people don't make it that far in the video. They can be useful because you can direct people to your older videos, which I guess in theory will get you more views. So if you want to do one, I'd say go for it, but I just haven't wanted to put the time in it because it just involves more editing. Yes?
What is your biggest tip for a YouTube channel that has like around 30 subscribers and only been going on for a couple months?
So he asked, what's like the biggest tip for someone with 30 subscribers and only been doing this for a while? It's really tough to start out on YouTube, especially when your equipment isn't as good because it's harder to stand out amongst everyone else. But the biggest thing is just, like, you have to have a good personality. If people will latch onto a good personality, because like, here's the thing, I guess this sounds bad, but when I used to make videos back in like 2012 and 2013, the reason people subscribed to me is because I was fast. That was basically it. And I could make all these fast tutorials and stuff, and that's basically why people subscribed. But I was boring, and that's kind of why I maxed out at 2,000. So really just be a really interesting person and kind of outgoing. And it's really hard, too, to make videos that people haven't already done. So try and think outside of the box of different things you could make. And you know, if you do different series that people haven't done already, people will come and watch those as long as they're interesting. Yes?
Where do you think the best place to get music for new
Gotcha. So he asked the best place to get music. So I don't want to give this one away because we're going to start using it, seeing it used everywhere now. We kind of already do. If you go to the YouTube channel, Non-Copyright Sounds, you can use everything on their YouTube channel for free as long as you credit the artist. Most of the music is EDM or techno related stuff, and it works good as background noise. Just one little quick tip, if you're gonna use background music, lower it down. Never, ever, ever let it overpower your voice. So many people make videos and you can't even like hear their voice anymore. And the music is not the focus of the video. The music is just supposed to be a subtle thing to add another layer to your video. It's not supposed to overpower your voice. So just keep that in mind. So non-copyright sounds, really if you just search like royalty-free music, like on YouTube, there's other channels, but non-copyright sounds is generally what I default to. Also, if you check out audioblocks.com, most of you probably won't have money for this, but They're a royalty-free music website that is subscription-based, and they're really, really good. They have some trials, and I would check them out. If you want to take this really serious, I would look into them. I've used their trial, and they have really good audio on there, so definitely check them out. We will take one more because we're pretty late. We'll take you because you've had your hand up for a while.
What's a good link for a video as far as like business brand and engagement
Yeah. So he asked, what's like the best length for a video? After doing video production for a year where I work, the target time that we always aim for is 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. And because that's like kind of when people start to get bored is after that part. But there are some videos you can't do shorter. Like I have plenty of videos on my channel that are quite long. But if you can make it in that range, always do it. But there are some videos you just can't do that. So aim for 2.5 to 3 minutes. If you guys have more questions, you can come personally talk to me because I know some of you still had questions. But thank you for coming and sticking around.